There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah. And this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And first of all, without any ambiguity, we will not ban fracking.
Liar, 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 and you know it.
There is a reason why Kamala Harris is not giving any interviews. It's because she has been on both sides of every position. We know where she really lands down on, though, and that, of course, is on the side of the left, the side of higher taxes, more government control, taking away your freedoms, right? That's where her heart really is. However, taking a cue from the Biden campaign, she knows the media and the big tech oligarchs are going to run cover from her, so she's basically going to campaign from her basement, or rather, campaign from the rally. She is going to get out there and give speeches, but she will not answer questions. And so far, she's avoiding even softball interviews, right? From CNN, MSNBC, all of the leftist organizations, which is really quite peculiar. However, this is going to end up backfiring on her the closer we get to the actual election, because already the bloom is off of the rose. And as we can see over here, yes, Kamala Harris is still trailing Donald Trump according to the latest Daily Mail poll. She is down by 2 points. So even though all of the other polls out there are showing her just beating Donald Trump horribly, well, not so much. And even though all of the polls being touted by the mainstream media are showing her just basically decimating Donald Trump, there are several that show the opposite is happening. Now, this poll does show that she's making gains on Donald Trump because she's the new candidate, but then again, anybody other than Joe Biden would cause a little bit of enthusiasm among the Democrats, even if it's Kamala Harris. However, what's really going to define this race is the opposing policy positions of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Let's check out this segment from Vivek Ramaswamy.
So we're all waiting to hear what the Harris economy is supposed to look like. We don't know yet. I imagine we're going to hear more about that in the coming days, if not maybe at the convention itself.
The idea that we don't know what her economic vision is, I think, is actually a little bit off the mark, in the sense that we do know what she stood for in the U.S. Senate and as vice president, as a former presidential candidate.
So I
do think we have a lot to go on there to talk about. Here's the question, though.
If she pivots, right? And that's what we keep hearing is she's going to pivot. You're going to see this sort of maybe turn to the center. Maybe, by the way, we're totally wrong, and it's like a complete, lefty thing. I don't think that's going to be the case. But then I imagine if she does that, then I imagine you're going to say, as others will, and we talked to Kevin McCarthy, that then she's a flip-flopper. And so what are we supposed to either believe or care about?
Well, let's look at the whispers that you're hearing now. Now, supposedly, she's opposed to a ban on fracking. That's about as ridiculous as saying that Donald Trump is opposed to a border wall. Okay, the idea that this is a person who said, it was her words, not mine, that she is absolutely in favor of ending fracking, so much so that as AG in the state of California, she actually sued the Obama administration for granting fracking permits. So you talk about ending fracking. Let's talk about the unrealized the tax on unrealized capital gains. This is a formula for a stock market crash, and I think a second Great Depression.
But what I'm saying is, if she goes,
these are specific policies she has adopted
the other way, are we supposed to believe her? Are we not? At the same time, by the way, that people look at some of the comments that J.D. Vance made, by the way, about former President Trump, calling him America's Hitler and all sorts of things, said how much he hated him. And now, of course, is his vice president saying that he's changed his mind and he's grown and he's learned. Is it possible that she might?
So, look, I think that we'd have to evaluate what she says on the merits and how substantive her alternative proposals are. But I give the presumption of weight to what she's actually supported, what she's done. It's one thing to say someone has said this in the past, they do this today. Let's look at what she's actually done. She didn't just support the Green New Deal, Andrew. She actually co-sponsored legislation to advance it, so much so that she said she would favor ending the filibuster in the Senate to ram that through. What's in that Green New Deal? Replacing aviation travel with rail travel. Net zero by as early as 2030. In that bill, as well as others, she co-sponsored legislation with Bernie Sanders for nationalizing the U.S. healthcare system. So I think actions speak louder than words. Regardless of her words, I'll look to her actions.
So unfortunately for Kamala Harris, she actually has a record at this point. So it's really easy to go back and fact check her. And of course, we can say, is she flip-flopping? Is she evolving? And the answer to that is she's a leftist. We know fundamentally what she is for, but she can't run as a leftist because this country is not a leftist country. All the Democrats who've been voting for these lefties over the past several years have been duped into thinking they're actually for the common folk. They're for the working class, when really they're not. All they're for is high taxes and control over your lives. Of course, the main topic of the election is going to be the economy, as it always is. Check out this segment from NBC.
How hard has inflation hit you? It hit me hard. It's hitting me hard.
What do you blame for it?
I blame the federal government at this point. If a working class mom who works as a paralegal cannot buy a $2 bell pepper because it's now $5, imagine a mother living on food stamps. Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us. If you understand that. They're killing us without telling us they're killing us. They're hurting people in ways that they can't help themselves. It's either feed my child or how about feed my children and I don't eat, but I have to go work.
As you can see on the screen there, these are black voters from Philadelphia in that swing state area. And what is she worried about the most? Inflation, because it's killing them without killing them. As we know, inflation is the hidden tax on citizens, and it's caused primarily by overspending of the government, right? They print out new money, thus devaluing our dollars, thus making everything go up in price, all right? Very basic economics, and it is destroying the middle class. And this is what's going to turn the tide against the Democrats and towards Donald Trump. And speaking of turning the tide towards Donald Trump, check out this segment from CNN.
And there's a different question, which essentially says, how certain are you actually going to go out and vote? And this is the top range. Almost certain to vote. Again, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. This is among registered voters. Look at this. Look at Kamala Harris now compared to where Joe Biden was back in May. In fact, 62% of Joe Biden voters said they were almost certain to turn out and vote. Now,
it's gone down.
It's actually gone down a little bit. I would call this in the same general area at 61%. But it's basically unchanged. And look at Donald Trump. He was at 58% in May. He's actually gone up a little bit now. He's at 60% now. Again, basically no real change. So the bottom line here is, yes, there may be more enthusiasm for Kamala Harris, but the fact is we're not seeing that necessarily translate in the almost certain vote. And one little other note, Sarah, I will note this. Donald Trump is more popular today than he was on August 13th in either 2020 or 2016. So the bottom line is, yes, Kamala Harris is doing better in the polls, but there's a long way to go. The polls can shift. The almost certain to vote hasn't actually shifted, and Donald Trump is more popular than he was at either 2016 or 2020 at this point.
Those are interesting data points, Harry.
So as much as the media is trying to prop up Kamala Harris, guess what actually is true? Even according to their polls, Donald Trump is doing better now than he did in either of his previous elections. And he won in 2016 and he lost in 2020. But here we are in 2024. And guess what? The gains are still coming. So as much as they try to paint him as this extremist radical, the working class, the normal folks in America know exactly what's going on, comparing the Kamala Harris Biden economy to the Donald Trump economy. And we know which one is better. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.